Recently, a few friends of mine have been looking into getting new cars, and one consideration that they and everyone else looking to getting a new car has to look at is if they want a manual car or an automatic car. And I thought more deeply about this, and I put together a few questions and guidelines that you should always ask yourself when you consider which transmission you should get in a car when you buy it. So without further ado, here's the list. So the first thing you need to take into consideration is your location. And if you live in a large city or somewhere that's very traffic heavy, you'd probably prefer an automatic. I personally drove a manual car to school for about 1.5 years in traffic, probably about a 15-mile commute there and back. So it wasn't too bad, and I honestly didn't mind it. And some people don't want to constantly be changing gears and getting a massive leg workout when they could just be in an automatic and not have to worry about shifting. So automatics are much better driving in traffic because you don't have to focus on changing gears, and you could designate all your attention on the road, which is what you should do. So one more thing I want to mention about location is if you live somewhere that's pretty hill heavy, or that the terrain isn't necessarily flat like San Francisco or something like that, a manual might not be the best option, especially if you're buying the car to learn how to drive manual, because hill starts are very difficult to master. And another good thing about manuals is it'll get you better fuel economy, and it gives you a lot more control of the car, which leads me to my next point. So the second thing I want to talk about is operating the car. Now obviously, driving an automatic is much easier than driving manual. With an automatic, you only have to worry about the brake and gas without worrying about changing gears. In a manual, you have to maneuver the clutch, gas, brake, and gear selector pretty much all at the same time in some scenarios. Therefore, driving a manual is much more of an engaging experience, which a lot of people like, and I personally like too. So along with that, a manual also provides the driver with better feedback. So while automatics are easier to drive, they also provide you with a less interesting and a more dull driving experience. So the third thing that you want to take into consideration when buying a car is the type of car that it is. And what I mean by that is it a muscle car? Is it a sports car? Is it a luxury sedan? Stuff like that. Because if it's a sports car or a muscle car like a Camaro, a Mustang, a Miata, BRZ, FRS, stuff like that, you're going to want to get it in a manual. And I think that all of those cars should be offered in a manual. But nowadays, with automatic transmissions being so good, the manuals are usually slower than the automatics. So if a couple tenths of a second to 60 is that big of a difference to you, then go with the automatic. But I personally think that all cars that are muscle cars and sports cars should be offered in manual only. So now on the flip side of that, if you're looking into buying an SUV or a bigger car, chances are you're going to have a lot more difficult of a time finding a manual transmission one, and for good reason, because probably 99% of those cars are generally going to be automatics. So basically, to sum up what I just said, if you're looking into a car that's more driver oriented, you're going to want to get a manual more times than not. And if you're looking at pretty much anything else, an automatic might be your only option. Again, it all depends on the car. So the fourth consideration that you want to look at is repair costs and maintenance. So stick shift cars are generally cheaper to maintain, and they're going to cost you less overall. From factory, automatic variants of cars usually cost around $1,000 more than the manual variant. And in the long run, manuals are generally going to be cheaper to maintain, and they usually hold their value better than their automatic counterparts. So if you're a penny pincher or want to save a few dollars here and there, a manual is definitely your best choice. So the fifth thing that you should take into consideration is the type of driver you are. And this relates back to my second point. So basically, if you're someone who likes a more relaxed driving experience, an automatic is probably better for you. Automatics require less work and less input from the driver, like I said. But on the other hand, if you like being involved with the car and having more control, a manual is definitely the best option for you. Because driving a manual allows you to control the car more and provides a much more raw driving experience. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap up this video. If you have any additions to my list or any considerations that you should look at when buying a new car, definitely let me know down below in the comments. I hope this could help some of you decide whether an automatic or a manual is the best transmission for you. And anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next video.